Internet! Welcome to 2.5 Brains. We are talking about the latest episode of The Amazing Race Season 32, Episode 10. Gonna break it all down, talk about what went right, what went wrong for all the teams, and give our feedback and power rankings. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe so you get all the updates. Don't miss anything here, especially as we get closer to the finale, now 2 episodes away. You can email the show directly at paperproductions@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/paperproductions. We don't say anything controversial, so we won't get kicked off there. Tweet me directly, Yo Grab a Gab. I'm never really on Twitter, so tweet me, I probably won't ever respond. Let me go ahead and bring in the other half of the show. Either half and a quarter or whatever. It's Jessica and Bailey.
Oh, here we go. Hello.
Welcome to the Boob, the Babe, and the Bubbas.
You're ridiculous.
The Better Business Bureau of podcasting, of vlogging.
Lord help us all.
Indeed. Jessica, how do people find you and Bailey on Twitter?
Just T820. Bailey doesn't have a Twitter.
Bailey's bored. He's yawning at us.
That's stupid. Will you please stop already?
Yes. Well, Jessica, let's talk about episode 10 of the Amazing Race here. This won't be too long. It's not a double episode, and there's only a few teams in our power rankings that we'll talk about. So,
correct.
Let's go ahead and get started here. What happened? Where did they go? Where did they travel from this time? From and to?
From India to Colombia. Cambodia. Yes.
Not the same. Not quite the same.
I know it's not the same. I just saw I glanced quickly.
No worries. They all arrived on the same flight again.
From India to Cambodia, because how many flights are there from India to Cambodia?
Probably not.
Probably just one.
Yeah. So what happened when they got there?
So first they had to find a tuk-tuk. They had to help the tuk-tuk driver put it together, and then that took them to their next spot where they got their clue.
Indeed.
For the second task, if you will.
Yes, and what was the second task?
Boat temple.
Yeah, so what was that?
So that was when they had to take the basket from the tuk-tuk with their Travelocity gnome that they had to take the whole race. They went to, it was a Buddhist temple. They had to go in with the basket they had to follow a certain set of directions on how to approach the Buddhists and kneeling, and presenting the gifts to them, and then they would receive their next clue. For sure.
And it was basically the whole town was just on the water, so they had just boats, basically boathouse, and then there's a temple that was on the boat as well, which was really neat.
Boats.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Boats and other things too.
Horses?
Yes. There actually was no. Well, there was a U-turn.
There was a U-turn.
And then before that, I guess technically, because they had to do the one half of the U-turn first. So, Fish versus Farm was the detour decision, correct?
Yeah, so you was very confused where you were going.
Yeah, so I was way off the rails there.
So Fish versus Farm. So Fish was either you had to go pull a net that they said was over half a mile, I think, out of the water.
Yeah, it was 3,000 feet.
Yeah, 3,100 something feet. They had to pull it over basically a spinning spool that was going to knock all the fish out into a water basin underneath that was capturing them. They had to pull the entire thing out of the water, scoop the fish out, put it into a bucket, and weigh over 15 kilograms, was it?
Yep.
For them to go to their next clue. Farm was a little different. They had floating farms on the water. They had to go onto these floating platforms, stir their own compost of dirt and manure, spread it, and then they had to plant the plants exactly like it was shown in the example. Also, the Travelocity gnome came into play because for the fish they had to get the little pointer for the scale out of there, and for the farm they had to plant a seed that the gnome was carrying.
Correct.
I know.
You know. You definitely know that.
I do know.
It's the Amazing Race was pandering for Travelocity. Every prizes from Travelocity, and the gnome is on this one like I've ever seen. The gnome is consistent.
I know that one.
Which one do you think was easier?
Fish.
Yeah.
It was a lot more strength though, more physical.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get tired, but I honestly think the farm was way more physical. Planting sucks. Farming is hard. Mm-hmm. Shout out to all the farmers out there.
Indeed, no farm, no food. But yeah, I mean, I think again, if you want to look at just what's, I always say the one that's the most straightforward, with the less skill, the better. Because I have no skills, that's why I say that. But if you just do the straightforward one, you're gonna have better results. Because at least you know when it ends. Like you can, it's way easier to run a race when you see the finish line. And as opposed to just having to kind of figure stuff out as you go. You just go really fast with the nets and.
Pull a net, weigh the fish, you're done.
Yeah,
that's it
for sure. So then we had a double U-turn, the last double U-turn on the race. Mm-hmm. We also informed there be no more non-eliminations as well. Mm-hmm. So what happened to the double U-turn?
So Gary and D'Angelo ended up getting to, I guess you call the U-turn spot first. U-turned Eshwar and Aparna, which I don't know if I agree with, but I guess it made the most sense at the time. And then Radisson. Wow. I'm just gonna combine their names. Radisson, Madison, and Riley got there right after them and burned the other U-turn, and U-turned Gary and D'Angelo, who got there first. So obviously it didn't count. So they just burned the second one.
Yeah. So it was actually because in Riley and Madison, their boat died on the way or whatever. Yeah. And they still got there and got to the challenge. Yeah. But they still got the challenge done. Actually, they got the challenge done first before everybody else, and then they got to.
Well, their boat died before the temple.
Right. No, that's what I mean. But they got the challenge done first. And they actually got... but Gary and Angelo's boat beat them to the platform. Yes. Which then they raced up the stairs first and got the U-turn first. Because Madison...
Not true. Madison and Riley got there first.
Correct.
They got lost. D'Angelo and Gary ran up the stairs first because they said check upstairs, as they already ran past. Madison and Riley got there first. They just didn't go up there first.
So you're right. I'm wearing my orthopedic shoes as I stand corrected. They did. Yes. You're right. No, Madison and Riley did get to the platform first.
They went around the platform and not up the platform.
And then Gary and D'Angelo went up first, got to the top.
Correct.
And the plan was to U-turn Gary and D'Angelo.
Yes.
But they also knew that if Gary and D'Angelo were U-turn, they would be able to U-turn one of the other members of the alliance. Yeah. So they decided, let's not do that. Let's just go ahead and U-turn Eshwar and Aparna instead of because we know they're at least behind them, which might have also blown up in their face. I really don't know, but Gary and D'Angelo got there first. They U-turned Eshwar and Aparna. Kind of, I guess Riley Madison kind of talked to him about maybe doing that.
I guess.
And then because they're like the last team in the alliance, the one that nobody else really cared about, and then to make sure that Eshwar and Aparna couldn't U-turn Hung and Chi or James and Will.
They burned
Madison and Riley U-turned Gary and D'Angelo since they had already passed that point. The U-turn wasn't valid, but it just took away the second spot, so nobody else could U-turn. Eshwar and Aparna couldn't U-turn anybody, and ultimately made it much more difficult for them.
To that effect, I say, who cares? It's a race. They should have just let someone else U-turn one of the other teams, because now you're just going up against them later on. You're going to have to beat them eventually. Why are you taking them with you?
We'll talk about that in about 30 seconds from now, but I agree.
I know, I just think it's stupid.
It is.
But stupid gameplay towards the end.
No.
It's not a teamwork show. It is a competition.
I mean, it's teamwork with your partner, that's it.
Well, I mean, it's not teamwork with all the groups. It's your team, and you want to beat everybody else.
That's it.
That's the point of the show.
You got it.
Yeah. Yes.
Next. So then, after the U-turn, they had roadblock.
Yes. Fit the mold. So basically they had to make a tile. It looked like some sort of clay that they had to stamp together. First they had to put the colors in correctly. No. Scratch that. First they had to do something nobody was doing, was grease the damn plate.
Yeah.
You grease the plate, you put the stamp down, you fill it with the color, you sprinkle the clay over on top of it, you fill it more, level it out. The guy spins a little thingy that pushes it down and compacts it. Yes, that's a technical term, thingy.
Yep.
And then you take it apart and you're supposed to slide the tile out, which then fits a slide puzzle in the next room. And once you finish that, you're good to go.
Yeah, and that was one thing that nobody, because they had somebody on a loop basically making tiles, show them how to do it, and they kept being like, okay, cool, got it, and then they wouldn't.
I guess they wouldn't catch it from the beginning.
Correct. Or they would say, okay, I see how to do it, and they would go, and they would skip over the first detail, which was the key to everything. The first detail was you had to grease the pig first. And once they did that,
Do you say grease the pig?
grease the plate. Grease whatever it was. The plate, sure. Grease the plate first, and then you could do everything else. But they kept doing it, and they're like, "Oh, it's wrong. Oh, I can't get open. Oh, da, da, da." And they eventually realized they need to go back
Tearing apart the clay. I mean, everybody didn't get it. Nobody got it on their first try. Madison and Riley, probably their like 4th or 5th, I think I remember, because they went to go watch. But like D'Angelo, man, 12 tries.
Yeah.
You just gotta watch it. Like, I don't know. Gary has been pretty strong at most of this stuff, but unfortunately, obviously, you can't do all of the things. So
it seems like that's
tough.
It seems like there's a lot of times there's a team. I remember one of my favorite teams ever in the Amazing Race was Brody and Kurt. They were the professional frisbee guys. They're YouTube stars. Like Brody would throw the frisbee and like from like 100 yards away and go on a basketball hoop. Super cool. And he was like trying to hook up with one of the other girls on the show, which was crazy. It was because he was the father-daughter team. He was trying to hook up with the daughter and the father-daughter. It was funny. But Kurt, like they made a joke on the show. Oh, Kurt's doing this challenge? Good, he sucks at everything. Because like he would do the challenge, like he'd get it last and leave first. He was just amazing at everything. And Brody was good at most things, but wasn't on Kurt's level by any means. And Kurt did like a bunch of challenges at the beginning. They won a bunch of legs, and then Brody had to catch up and do more of them. And just couldn't. He wasn't nearly as good.
Yeah.
So he was doing the challenges. Everything Kurt did, they crushed. And Brody was like kind of normal. It wasn't a super, a superhero like Kurt was. And he got, eventually he had to do a lot more challenges and they started slipping. And that's kind of how it is. A lot of times with those super strong teams, there's one who's the leader of the team. There's one who's kind of the other person, I guess. One's really good, one's not as good. And I think it's kind of where it is with Gary and D'Angelo a little bit. I thought D'Angelo would be the star and Gary would be the one holding it back.
Gary had all the hidden talents.
No doubt. But anyways, and that was the thing. Gary D'Angelo took a long time. Eventually got it, and then it was raised. And it's funny when Eshwar and Aparna showed up after they got U-turned. And again, it wasn't really. I really don't think Gary and D'Angelo really had any malice in the fact that they U-turned them. I think it was more like, look, we're here. We know that they're behind us, and then if they want to be mad at somebody, be mad at Riley and them because Riley and Madison burned their other chance. Basically, threw them on an island and burned the boat. Right? I mean, threw them on an island and burned the boat, so they couldn't get out.
Pretty much.
So you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at Gary and D'Angelo have to survive.
Yeah.
But Madison and Riley made sure that that Eshwar and Aparna were screwed.
Yeah.
But so they weren't too. They were pretty salty for sure.
Extremely salty.
It's been a very salty race.
It's a race. It's a competition.
It's
you cannot work together. Like, not everybody's gonna win this. That's what gets so frustrating towards the ends of this stuff. Like, it's a competition.
And you said, we were talking about the worst seasons of Survivor, and it's in the same ballpark. The worst seasons of Survivor are the ones where there's five people, and they go to the final 5, and then two of them get screwed at the end. They go to the final 3. And the final 3 is the person who was leading the whole thing. They win. It's like, well, duh. Because all 5 of you idiots can't go to the end together, and all 5 of you can't win. Why are you trying to go to the end of the game just to lose? Well, we don't want to say we got to the end. Well, you're a coward. Don't try to go to the end. I said, Amazing Race on Survivor, I'd rather go 5th.
Right.
I'd rather go 5th and go on my own terms and bust it and do the best I can do and lose than, I got to the end. I had no chance to ever win.
Yeah.
But I got to the end. Who cares? It's too damn hard to do that. Give yourself a shot.
Like the 3 that want to go to the end together, so they have to compete finally, or are y'all going to share the money?
Right.
Like everybody wins together.
Split it. $1 million, half $500,000 per winner. After taxes, it's like $300,000 each, and so each get $100,000. Cool, awesome.
This makes me salty. It's a competition.
Ridiculous.
There's no kumbaya. You're there to win. Ridiculous. If you're not there to win, then I guess don't.
And guess what? And it's the 5 lines. You have. I mean, it
was the 5 lines.
Was the 5. I would say I have a lot of respect now for Leo and Alana. They're mad that they got U-turned by their friends, but they realized, hey, they did what they had to do to survive.
Yeah.
Gary and D'Angelo said, look, if I didn't U-turn you guys, I'd be last right now.
Right.
And he's right. You can't take it that personally, and we'll see, but you have either one. So ultimately, it comes down to the 3 teams make it through, and then it's down to D'Angelo against Eshwar. D'Angelo gets through first. Ashwar's not too far behind, and then they get taxi for D'Angelo, and then look like they took him to like the other side of the country before they got to where they're supposed to go. Yeah. And it ended up being a foot race, and ultimately D'Angelo and them, they had enough of a lead at that point where it really didn't matter. They did make it first, and Ashwar and Aparna were last.
Yes. They didn't make it look that way, though.
It certainly didn't look that way. Mm-hmm. Certainly didn't look that way. It made it look a lot closer. It looked like it was going to be a foot race to the end, and I don't think it really was that close. No. But who knows? That's editing. We do know that Gary and D'Angelo got to the mat approximately 2 hours after the first team left the mat. So that's that. So we don't know how far after Aparna and Ashwar got there. But.
Right.
Anyways, so what did Ashwar and Aparna do wrong? Why did they lose?
They lost because they depended on the alliance. I mean, they weren't a strong team, but like towards the end, you're just relying on these people. I don't know. There's a lot of things that why they didn't make it through.
The first couple legs, it's like this team sucks. That's why they lost. Mm-hmm. As you get down and deeper into it, this part gets harder. The power rankings get easier.
They just struggled.
They really did. I don't think they really had. I said from episode 1 or 2, they really didn't have that killer instinct. They really weren't like, we have to win this.
None of it was that. Yeah.
And then they were the weakest of the 5. Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah. The alliance certainly didn't help them, and they did well in the challenges overall. But I think they
for the most part, I feel like they struggled in most of the challenges too. It took them more to do something than other people. Like it was easier for others. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm not singing it. Bailey's not dancing. He said, "Leave me alone."
Yeah, I mean, they were. I think the thing is, I think they were maybe the 5th or 6th best team on the race.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you're the 5th, 6th best team on the race, unless the team, I think the worst thing that they could have done, honestly, this might sound crazy. I think the worst thing they did was form an alliance, because if you're the 4th or 5th best team, you need the top 3 or 4 teams to get knocked out. And if you get to the final 5 and you're the 5th best team, well, you're probably not going to make it. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest mistake they made, is forming that alliance, because they weren't in the core of the alliance. They were, they needed help to get to where they got to, which is true. But if they could have, formed up with the other 3 people, and flipped on the other, on the other 3 or whatever, they could have maybe made a difference. But they were, they were a fine team. They weren't great. They weren't terrible. And the U-turn ultimately didn't help, and they were too far behind to catch up at that point. Mm-hmm. Even though they were kind of in it near the end, I just think the biggest thing is, I really think when you've got to assess your value in the race, you've got to assess your position in the race, and you've got to understand that if you're, a lot of teams think they can beat everybody. We're gonna beat everybody. Well, you're not, and you're probably not the best team. You're probably not the most equipped to win the race. So they should have made that strategic decision that, we're not the strongest team. We're good. We're not the strongest team. They should have either betrayed the alliance sooner or not even gotten the alliance, because when you're a middle of the pack team, or maybe a little bit higher than the middle of the pack team, mm-hmm. you need other teams to get knocked out who are better than you. There have been races where there's teams who, like, I thought for sure they're winning. They were dominant. I mean, there was a team. When it was the Complete Strangers team, I think it was, they got knocked out kind of early. Mm-hmm. I think it was Olive, and I can't remember his name, but she was like a firefighter and he was a cop, or vice versa, and they paired together at random, and they were crushing it. They won 2 of the first 3 legs, and they were doing great. And then I'm like, oh, this team's cruising victory, and then they got knocked out kind of early because people knew they were a threat. They got U-turn. And you got to take out the threats, especially if you're not the threat. You've got to take out the threat, and then the alliance did them no good, because all they did was keep the threats in the game.
Yeah,
which were the whole time. Which those threats are better than them in the race. So you're keeping your teams better than you in when you should be taking them out, and that was the biggest thing.
Nobody really played cutthroat this
season. No,
it was all I won't U-turn. I'm not going to yield anybody.
And
I mean, I guess in the beginning you shouldn't, but then also...
Well, yeah, you're right. You want to save as long as you can, I agree.
Yeah.
Unless you absolutely need to. But I think, too,
if you're always in the back of the pack, then you should.
There's been races, and this is very, very... I think this is very interesting about this season. There's been races in the past where the teams hate each other. From day one, they were rivals that hate each other, want to get each other out. And at the end of the race, they all, buried the hatchet and were good. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to happen this season.
No, they're never going to. No.
I think there's going to be people who hate each other for life. Mm-hmm. Because they formed an alliance and said, oh, we're all best friends. And then somebody has to get cut. And then you cut that person and you're like, well, I thought we were best friends. What the hell is that? Was that all fake? Was that all bullshit?
Well, exactly.
And it was.
Yeah.
And that hurts more. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have my enemy knock me out than my friend knock me out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be I think there's going to be bitter. I think there's going to be some bitterness for sure. I mean, you could see, you already see with Eshwar and Aparna.
Yeah.
I mean, they were mad. They were angry. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to be, I don't think they're the first. I sure don't think they're going to be the last ones to be angry.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem with alliances. And, I think I think even kind of Phil's been kind of talking about, you guys still doing this alliance thing? Like, right. I think it's a bad idea, guys.
Working together? This is not the point of the show.
Yeah.
But okay.
And I think the producers hate it. I think Phil hates it. And I hate it.
I hate it.
I think a lot of the fans hate it. I think a lot of the fans hate it. For sure. The edit maybe makes it a certain way. Like, I mean,
I doubt it, though.
But, I mean, I'm saying, like, the edit, I'm saying, like, you don't want to show the winner as villains. You want to show them as good guys because you want them to be rootable when they ultimately win.
But you root for villains. There's people like you that exist.
Sure, but I think more the minority. And there was a team that I really hated, but the last couple legs, and there's been several seasons where I didn't hate the winner, that they're terrible, but you could tell because they were hated the whole season, and the last episode they became the fan favorite. The edit flipped it around, made them likable. And like, okay, well, they're winning because you want the winner to be hated. So I don't know. I think the alliances are bad. They gotta. I mean, again, you can't stop them from doing it. I would really like to see them try to do something with like they did before, the partner swap or something to break this up, because if the alliances become the new normal of Amazing Race, it's going to be the beginning of the end. And the show has been just kind of barely hanging on anyways as it is. Its ratings have ticked up a little bit, but I don't think this is helping.
No.
I really don't. Well, I'd love to see what the ratings are at the end of the season, but I think this is going to hurt it. For sure. Kumbaya, nobody wants to watch Kumbaya. It's reality TV. You want to watch people tear each other apart. That's what I watch.
Right. Okay. Jerry Springer. That's
for sure. No doubt. Let's I want to see people.
Maury, you are not the father.
I mean, the Kardashians, all that crap, right?
Yeah.
Why do people watch? Because they want people to see people fight and act ridiculous. It's Jersey Shore. I
love Jersey Shore.
Hate it with a passion. But why do people like it?
T-shirt time.
Because people act ridiculous.
Yes.
And you want people. If you want to watch people being freaking friends, you watch church channel. Okay, like that's not what
Barney.
Right.
I love you. You love me. Yeah, exactly. We're a happy family.
Anyways,
are you not amused?
No. So
doesn't feel the kumbaya right now.
So Eshwar Part knocked out. That's what happened to them. Let's go ahead and do the power rankings finishes up here.
Finally.
Who is number 4 in the power rankings, Jessica?
Gary and D'Angelo.
Gary and D'Angelo.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I mean, they U-turned Ishwar and Aparna. Mm-hmm. And they're not in the strong 3, if you will.
And I don't know if they even know that. I really feel like they don't know that. I really feel like
I don't know, because they don't see anybody talking.
Yeah.
They were, but they don't see anybody kind of helping each other.
Yeah. I think they feel kind of on the outs, but I don't think they really know how much they actually are on the outs.
I don't think they think they're on the outs. I think they just don't think there's any alliance anymore, because that's what was discussed.
That's
they
true.
said after the 5...
That's a good point.
Duke it out, so they're just assuming that no one's working together.
I mean, and like I said, they actually got to the U-turn first and finished 4th.
Yeah.
So
why are they in 4th? Because they don't pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
That's basically it. They could have been 1st.
And Gary picked it right away. D'Angelo didn't get it right away, but they both have. I mean, the thing is, they both have skills that complement each other very well.
Yeah.
They haven't really been fighting. They haven't been bickering. They've been, they've both been in high stress situations. So, it is what it is. But I think, they've been, they've been kind of in 4th, 5th on our rankings the whole time. So I don't think there's anything really too surprising with this. Who do we have at number 3, Jessica?
Tongue and cheek.
Yeah, they've fallen a little bit further. I think they're almost out of gas.
Struggling, yeah. They're on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
It's going down a hill.
We'll see the next 2 weeks, what they do.
May not be working on that hill.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But they've been struggling, and I think they're almost out of gas. Like I said, I think they're almost, getting to the point where they're kind of...
It's pretty bad that they peaked, and it's like the last, 4 or 5 episodes have been pretty bad.
Yeah, they've been on the steady decline. And I don't know, I'd love to see them... I do like them. I'd like to see them do well, but we'll see how the next week go, because I could really see them falling apart. Yeah. I hope they don't, but I think I agree with you. They've kind of peaked. They start off super strong. They were it's a horse race.
Very consistent, and they just struggled in a lot of the challenges, which I guess they're different challenges, and what she had to do more this time, or has had to start picking up the challenges. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really know, but I think the one issue is it's like a horse race. The horse that runs out in front right away usually doesn't sustain that. Usually they get passed out by somebody else, and I feel like that's kind of where they've done it. You want to be peaking now.
It's like NASCAR.
Like whatever. You want to be peaking now. That's where you want to be.
I know.
And they're not, and that's troubling. What do you have for number 2, Jessica?
Will and James.
Will James.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Will and James.
They had 3
legs.
They've been doing well. I mean, it's 1A and 1B.
Yeah, it's...
They're 1B.
And said Hung and Chi were in that.
Mm-hmm.
They were in that running for sure. They've kind of slipped a little bit, but Will and James, they won 3 legs, but they haven't won one in a while. I mean, D'Angelo, I think, D'Angelo then won one, and now these guys have won, I think, 2 in a row.
Right.
So this is their 3rd, and now they're tied for the most. With Madison Riley have won 3 and Will James won 3. Will James haven't really been peaking. They've been consistent.
Yeah.
But they haven't really been peaking.
No. I mean, they got to the tile making 3rd, I think. Or 4th. They left 2nd.
3rd, 4th, yeah. So they're right in it. You definitely see them winning. They need 1 or 2 good legs, really. At least get through this next leg, and then a good final leg. Mm-hmm. That's all they need.
Yeah.
But they're not. I think they're kind of leveling off a little bit. They're kind of they've gone as high as they're going now. They're more plateauing. I wouldn't say
plateau.
I wouldn't say they're on the decline yet, but they're definitely on a plateau.
Yeah.
And team number 1.
Riley and Madison.
Yeah,
Radisson.
Radisson. There you go. The hotel team. The hotel chain.
Yeah.
The bearded bros who play ball. The hotel chain. Madison, the Radissons.
The Radissons.
They
won their 3rd leg.
3rd leg. 2nd in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in a strong spot right now.
Yeah.
I think they're really really hitting their stride, really peaking. And I think they're I think for them the alliance has been fine because they would have been a team that you would normally would U-turn.
Yeah.
And get rid of, but they've said no. Let's all go together and all be friends.
Yeah.
And we'll see if those friendships last after one team wins $1 million, the other two win nothing.
That their strategy was ridiculous because of the whole whoever gets there first can you turn Gary and D'Angelo. It's like you guys are gunning after the wrong people, but it's whatever.
Well, as I said, I think Gary and D'Angelo are the stronger than actually want to partner, but I would.
But do you want to go with the strongest people, or you want to keep the ones that are struggle a little bit?
I don't want to go to the end with my friends. I want to go to the end with the losers.
Okay.
Right?
So me.
No. What you're saying. I want us to go together.
Yes.
To the end with losers. Not with our friends. If my friends there, guess what? They can go home. Yeah. They can go forth. They can do what they can do. They can cheer for me when I run to the finish line. Yeah. They can be standing there going, yeah! I want that cheering section there when I run the end and win $1 million. I won't really run fast, but I will get there. I'll whatever, get there.
Yeah.
I'll take the taxi there. Okay. But yeah, I think Madison and Riley are in a good spot. I think they have the best shot. But anyway, I think if you want to give me, and that noise makes B-Back freaking pick them again.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of that team though. They've just been rubbing me the wrong way with how they are, but it's fine, I guess.
I said I've had a streak of reality TV. Amazing Race the last 2 seasons, and they had the team I wanted to win. Ultimately, did win, even or actually that's not true because the season before they did. But I think last season I had a winner I was happy with. The team I ultimately want never wins, but the team I feel the best about, or the final 3 teams, the one I usually want, and was usually being the one that comes out on top. At least the final 3. But this season I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about a team I like winning. And it seems like there's been of the last 8 seasons, I think I've had 2 teams I really felt good about winning. Yeah. It's been pretty much, even going back to Survivor, the contestants I'm rooting for just don't usually come out on top. And it's annoying to say the least, but that's why it's in every contest, as the great Ace Ventura would say, in every contest there must be a loser. Lay who, they hurt. So, anything else, Jessica?
I think we've talked enough.
I think we've gone far enough. So, how do we find you on Twitter?
Just T820.
Yep, Bailey's here as well. He's going to say his goodbyes.
Start bargain soon.
Yep. You can find me on Twitter, Yo Grab a Gabba. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pavement Productions. You can email us at pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe. Like Bailey said, subscribe right down there below on the screen. And, share your feedback. Give us, comments and let us know, and like the video and pass it along to your friends. We appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Other than that, I think that's all we got for now. We'll have one more episode and then the finale. So there's only 2 episodes left this season. So look forward to wrapping it all up and seeing who takes this thing. Until next time, safe show.